5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Please do not change channel.
From Krypton Radio, brought to you by Famous Faces and Funnies and Off the Chain with Yvonne Mason. It's the Hangin' with Web Show Radio Hour, the Internet's premier pop culture talk radio show. You're tuned in, you're logged on, and now, your host, award-winning author and journalist GW Pomichter. Who are you hanging with?
Hello, World Wide Web. Welcome back to the Hangin' with Web Show. I'm GW Pomichter. Thank you for logging on and tuning in. One more favor. Please hit subscribe, bang the little bell over there. That way, you'll be notified every time we have a new episode with an author, artist, filmmaker, musician, web creator. We've got creative minds of all kinds. We're hanging out with Hangin' with Web Show alumnus, good friend Carrie Pack. We're going to talk today with Carrie about, she's an author. You guys knew that already. But did you know she also is hosting the By Sci-Fi podcast?
Yeah.
So, Carrie, thanks for coming back on again.
Thanks for having me.
That's right. We didn't scare her away too bad.
No.
I like that.
No, I've been telling people you don't bite hard.
Not at all.
No.
Well, that one
depends
time,
what people
but
are
it was,
into.
I was drunk and it was college, and what are you going to do?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Long as it was consensual, we're fine.
That's it. It's
Yeah.
all good. So, By Sci-Fi podcast.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So I've been doing this about a year now.
Yeah.
I am behind on an episode this month because who isn't these days besides you guys? But
I'm behind all the time. I front load about 2 weeks out.
Yeah.
And then when I get to about 48 hours till I'm going to run out of stuff, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I
time
better
to
start
front load
editing.
some more.
Yeah.
That's except for my front load ran out. So anyway, but yeah, I've been doing it about a year. It kind of started as so a group of friends and I had a Twitter chat called By Sci-Fi.
Okay.
And I thought, what a great name. It rhymes, whatever. And I'm bisexual. I write a lot of bisexual characters. But honestly, I cover all genres of speculative fiction and all of the queer rainbow. So I predominantly interview indie authors.
Yep.
I want to give indie authors as much of a platform as possible because it can be really hard to get your stories out there.
So needed, yeah.
And in particular, when you're talking about people that come from marginalized communities, it's even harder for those people.
So you have the LGBT community, the sci-fi community,
I do,
and indie authors.
Yep. The
There's
convergence
a
of those
niche into
things.
a niche into another niche.
I know.
So what I find is that, first of all, when you're reaching your niche, you can reach a niche.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's never easy. It is. It's doable to reach into your niche and find an audience that wants to hear from you. But when you're doing that too, it also narrows your audience. So what is the audience thinking so far? How are you doing? It's been a year.
Doing okay. I'm still building the audience because, like you said, it's a very specific niche. But what's nice about that is, it's a lot of people that are writers and readers, in particular of sci-fi, all happened upon it for different reasons, and a lot of particularly queer creators and readers are looking for that diversity in their space opera and their dystopian. And I just interviewed Alex DiFrancesco, who wrote a hopeful post-apocalyptic story.
Loving that.
Hopeful.
Yes, mine too. That's what I did.
Yeah.
Because the world doesn't end when the world ends. Because as long as there's a person.
Right. And this particular author,
you need two, really, but
they took themes of kind of like basically how the queer community in particular will often create found family, right? Because you have a history of people that maybe weren't accepted by their families or their communities or their churches or what have you, and so they'll find that community where they can. And so a lot of the themes in their novel are about that. And it's called All City, I believe. But that's going to be going to be my probably early September episode.
Awesome.
But yeah, so just I love getting to talk to other authors. As a writer myself, it's fascinating to hear about other people's processes, their world building, but also, getting to help maybe get a platform for authors that don't get as much exposure.
That's awesome.
But I've also interviewed a Philip K. Dick award winner.
Awesome.
So it's not like, so I get a chance too to kind of run with the big dogs a little bit.
Best job on the planet.
Right?
This is the best job on the planet.
You're a better interviewer than I am, but
I made this shit up as I went along, so I don't know.
You're good at that, though. I have to do that little bit of research beforehand. You can look at a thing and
I have an amazing staff.
Yeah.
My family is an amazing staff of people that help me to do everything. And by the way, we were in the niche versus niche, guys. If you are finding yourself in these niches that are here, whether it be LGBT or science fiction or just general geekdom or or independent stuff, welcome to the artist community, man, because this is found family.
Yeah.
This is where we found our tribe.
Sure.
Is in other creators.
Yeah.
No more open group of people than
Accurate.
you can find in the creative artist community.
I always find that to be true. And you know, the great thing too is
sometimes it's just writers because they have no idea, so they look at you in your weird, wonky world and they're like, that would just be interesting. So, you know, at least they're open-minded because they're like, hey, okay.
right. And like I said, that's where a lot of queer creators and readers come from, is they came into speculative fiction because of they can see these fantastical worlds that include them.
That's
right.
fantastic.
And you go back to Star Trek: The Next Generation, and they're including transgender characters and you know and gender nonconforming characters.
This is
and
science fiction
queer
and fantasy.
characters.
Science fiction and fantasy is a genre of popular culture that has been ahead of the curve for generations.
Absolutely.
We know when things hit the mainstream, they hit like, you know, just gangbusters. So like when Black Panther came out, it was huge.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of little things leading up to making that $1 billion film. And they happened all in fantasy and science fiction and comics and speculative fiction community, because that's where we've been telling these stories for a generation.
Absolutely.
You know, we celebrate, you know, female power in Captain Marvel, but guys, in 1977, when they wouldn't let her wear a bra, Carrie Fisher showed us all what it was like to be tough.
Yeah. Without a bra.
Without a bra.
Right.
Which is hard to do, by the way. Being tough when they take away your
really,
bra. It's
sometimes,
really,
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it does make you angry. But
yeah. It depends.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice not to
It
wear
was
yeah.
comfortably around the house.
But no, you're
hanging
absolutely
out.
right. You know, it's as long as there have been people creating alternate universes and speculative worlds of all kinds. There have been women, there have been people of color, there have been queer people at the forefront. I mean, you look at the original Star Trek cast, right? One of the most diverse casts you've ever seen on television, let alone at the time.
Yeah, bar
when
none.
Nichelle Nichols and George Takei and then not only that, George Takei is gay. Like, you know, and they've all been strong voices. Gene Roddenberry was very open-minded with the way that he handled his shows, and so that has carried forward. And so anyone who says that I miss when science fiction wasn't political wasn't paying attention.
No, you can't.
They weren't paying attention.
Superheroes and science fiction and speculative fiction is all about speculating about the human condition.
Yep.
And we can't speculate about what's coming next or where we're going or what could be if we don't first talk about what is.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so that's where we challenge each other as writers and community builders to say, what is and how do we make it better, and what if?
Yeah.
What if we made it okay?
What if these situations never change? What if the world ends? What if it all changes? All of those questions.
That's the bubble a writer lives in, that what if bubble. Because we just keep popping it. What if? Let's try this.
Yeah.
Why not, right? So, most unexpected episode for you of doing the show this year.
Wow.
Did you learn anything
not
really?
So much maybe unexpected episodes. I think everyone has their own kind of unique. It's great to always talk with an author about their work, but you know what I always find great is when I find someone that I'm like, yes, let's be friends. Let's help each other. Let's promote each other's work. And Michael G. Williams was one. He's going to come back on later this fall.
Awesome.
He's already requested to come back. And so to have somebody to ask to come back, to have a good time doing it, feel like it was worth their while, and to say, yes, I want you to come back.
4 years, 700 episodes, and I will tell you that my favorite times of recording the show are when we're doing an event like this or whatever, and then I look on the list and I'm like, there's one or two from the last show, or there's one or two from a year ago, and it's like they want to come back on the show, and I'm like, that's cool. I mean, maybe they had a good time. Maybe it worked out. Maybe they got good views. You never know. The internet is the internet. I couldn't tell you if you're going to get 1,200 views or 12.
Right.
Because it's the internet. I can guarantee you if we put cats in these chairs for about 20 minutes, we blow up the internet.
I should have brought my foster kittens.
See? But if it's just you and me, we don't know.
Yeah, nobody wants to see us.
There's
But
no magic.
I have 2 foster kittens I'm trying to find homes for, and they're freaking adorable.
All right, we're going to put links down below so you can see if you
Yeah.
want a foster kitten, then you can contact Carrie Pack for that too. See, she does everything.
I do. I love it.
Just a humanitarian artist working. I mean, she's just killing it, man. So what are you working on right now? You got podcasts going?
I've got to edit an episode. Got to get one up. But I'm trying to work on my next novel. I'm working on a young adult contemporary romance. I think is going to be my next thing. I don't know. I jump all over the place. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
I talked about time travel. I talked about horror stuff. I don't know. Next thing will be like a nice fluffy romance. We'll see.
I can't do one of those.
No?
I can do anything else.
I think I can.
I think I can dive into just about anything, but I don't know. I have a good love life. I can't write about it. I don't know why. I can't. Most repressed mind.
Yeah.
And this is what I do for a living. I'm on camera, right?
No.
I don't get it. But it's true. I don't know. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
If you can pull that off, it's awesome.
That sounded ominous. Good luck with that.
No, really. I can wrap my everything else you were talking about. I can wrap my head at sci-fi, fantasy, and I can wrap my head around. My last one was a dystopian, so I can wrap my head around just about anything, dark, light, whatever. And then I get to romance, and I'm like, blah, 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 because I'm a guy. And that's what we do.
Well, that is
that's
usually
true.
Yeah.
I make no excuses for the male of the species in just saying that, look, you mentioned romance, and we're like, I don't understand. It's like a Bugs Bunny episode. Okay, guys, that's our time card. So we're going to say goodbye to Carrie. We're going to say thank you to our friends, Rick Shea at Famous Faces and Funnies, Jake Estrada at Space Coast Comics, Chuck Fresh over at Indie Originals, Josh Bauer at J Bauer Art. This is amazing artwork that Josh gave us for our set.
I love this one.
This is awesome. This is fantastic.
Although it is covering up my signature back there.
Is it?
That's my smiley face sticking out over there, yeah.
Oh, yeah. See that? Yeah. We move things around, though, so that's how she got the signature on there. So thank you, everybody out there at the Hearts Helping Others of Central Florida, Bea and her whole crew over there. And thank you, Krypton Radio, for letting us do 3 radio show podcasts in addition to this one, because I was bored. I didn't have anything else to do, so whatever. So we've been here at IBF 2019. That's Indie Book Fest, hanging out with author and podcaster and all around and humanitarian. She's got kitties that need a home. So reach out. Links down below. We're hanging out with Carrie Pack. Thank you, Carrie, so much for hanging out with us. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned in and stay logged on, and see who we're hanging with next.
Who's who, what's hot and what's not. 2019 saw some amazing new creative talents, and now you can peek behind the scenes at the hottest indie creative artists in this year's edition of 25 Hottest Indie Authors, Artist Advocates 2019 magazine, published by the renowned And I Thought Ladies. This is a one-of-a-kind look into the brightest rising stars in the creative universe. Get yours today at magcloud.com and at andwethought.com.
Ceci Giltenan's Highland solution on Amazon.com. Niall McGeehan needs the Lady Catherine Ruthven's dowry to relieve his client's crushing debt, but has no intention of giving her his heart. With a husband who does not want to be married and believes all women are deceitful, Lady Catherine must forfeit everything into the bargain. Can Catherine mend Niall's cynical heart before the treachery of others destroys them both? Highland Solution by best-selling author Ceci Giltenan, available on Amazon.com.
This is Cosplay Michael with the Hangin' On The Web show. I want to tell you about my friends at Embellish Effects in Orlando, Florida. They've got makeup, costumes, and props for all of your costume needs. And the team at Embellish Effects is helpful and friendly. Embellish Effects is one of my favorite places, and I know it will be yours too. I'll see you there. Or go to embellisheffects.com. And remember, cosplay is for everyone.
From authors Julie Morgan and Grayson Miller, and out of the great city of New Orleans emerges a detective tale to devour. The King of New Orleans is a demon who offers immortality for loyalty. The sheriff is a shifter with a badge who's lost his powers, and Natalia Cortez is the private dick who arrives to investigate a demonic killing. The rest is waiting to be uncovered by you. This dick is looking for a demon fuck. Pre-order on Amazon.com today.
In Terry A. Wilson's Slow Burn, Atlanta is a city straddling two worlds. Remington Montgomery is a modern dragon, the city's finest detective and most sought-after bachelor.
Day Ito was raised to reign as the Dragon Queen.
When fate steps in, these two are thrust together to reign as king and queen.
To make matters worse, Day's sister has gone missing, and the unlikely pair must find her.
The problem?
Well, it's complicated.
Can this royal couple set aside their differences and learn to work together?
Can they learn to be together?
Find out in the first of a 5-book series from author Terry A. Wilson.
Slow Burn, available on Amazon.com.
Mature and curvaceous Juliana faces the consequences of having two online lovers, the insanely jealous Aaron and the kind, sexy silver fox Bobby. To make her life more complicated, she must weather the wrath of her husband Rocco, who has discovered his suspicion and uncovers a deep, dark secret. And there are more secrets to uncover. Will these secrets come out? Can Juliana survive this tsunami of impossible situations? Will she be able to rebuild the life she once had? Or will the burden of the past prove too much? Is there even a happily ever after in her future? Read what happens when you pick up your copy of With All of Me Too today from joannesbooks.com or amazon.com.
Hello, World Wide Web. Welcome back to the Hangin' With Web Show. I'm GW Pomichter. Thank you for logging on and tuning in and clicking links and however you got here. We're glad you came. Now, one more thing. Go ahead and hit subscribe. Come back over and over again because we've got authors, artists, filmmakers, musicians, creative minds of all kinds right here on the Hangin' With Web Show. We are at Indie Book Fest 2019, and we're hanging out with author Gary Zeiger. Zeiger rhymes with tiger. But it's not a tiger, it's a Zeiger. You figure it out. You work through it. And we're going to talk to him. Gary is the author of the Stingray series.
Yes.
Because Stingray Can't Hide Forever, which is book one, and Stingray Prophecy, which is the most recent book.
Correct. Second book.
Outstanding. And he brought art. Because he's like my favorite guest today, because he brought stuff to make the set look cool, which is awesome. So, Gary, thanks for hanging out with us, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm good.
How's IBF going for you?
It's going well.
Yeah?
Yep, having a good time.
Having a good time so far? Awesome. All right, so, well, let's talk a little bit about your writing journey to start with. How long have you been writing?
Well, I hate writing. I always did as a kid. And the funny part is...
That wasn't the funny part.
No. The funny part is I'm now an author. So probably about 10 years ago, I got this story in my mind because I'm a sci-fi fan.
Okay.
I love the classic science fiction, Star Trek, the original series with William Shatner, Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers, the black and white version. I think I just dated myself.
It's okay.
Those kind, Lost in Space, those kinds.
No offense, Gil. It's just that really, you had better days.
Yeah, I watched that one too,
We had to. It was all we had back then.
It was.
I like to remind people all the time that science fiction has really come of age in the multimedia world today, but it's due in part to the fact that technology can finally do what our imaginations have always wanted it to.
That's correct. I mean, if you watch Star Trek or any of those, do you know how they made those sound effects?
Oh, it was.
They took sheet metal and went woo to make those kinds of noises.
Yeah,
where today you just punch it on a keyboard and it makes.
Yeah, you can create entirely new sounds today. We are here, both of us, as a testament to what technology can do, because technology opened the market for indie and small press authors. It opened the market for us to be able to do the show with you guys. And for the science fiction community, it has given way to the ability to. I remember as a kid watching Saturday mornings, we would watch the old Godzillas that were coming in and thinking, oh my goodness, the man in the rubber suit and everything else. But we were enthralled with the stories.
Yes.
We just wish they could have been, more visually entertaining. And today, what I told about the last Godzilla movie was it was visually stunning. And I'm thinking, see, we couldn't do that when we were kids.
No, they couldn't.
And so, so you're drawn to science fiction. You write the first book.
Yes.
Okay,
and so I had to get this story out on paper or digital, whatever. As the gray hairs were popping out, so was the story going away. So I really had to get it down. So I wrote Stingray Can't Hide Forever. And then there was like a 7-year gap between Prophecy, and I shouldn't say unfortunately. Fortunately, it's because the grandkids came along. And, you sit down and write, and getting ready to write, and the grandson calls, Grandpa, can I come over and play?
The answer, by the way, is always yes.
It's always yes.
It's always yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Put the computer aside. So
that's right.
So that was kind of the big gap there. So Prophecy is out. This is out on audio, and this is in post-production. That was another thing with technology you're talking about. I'm in technology as my profession,
okay.
So the post-production of the audiobook, while I didn't read it, I had an actor do it. I post-produced it, so I did all the audio engineering on it, and doing it on Prophecy as well. So
awesome,
a lot of that comes with the advances in technology.
The opportunities for creative people are... There's never been a better time to be a creator than there is today. The technology for video, for audio production.
That's correct.
And if you're an author, if you're a writer, and this is your dream, with online publishing companies and print on demand and small press companies that have come up as a result of that. People who have an expertise in the marketing or in other things. And we have opportunities we never had before. And when we were young, if you weren't Gene Roddenberry, you weren't doing sci-fi.
Correct.
If you weren't Ray Bradbury, just don't bother applying.
Correct.
Today we can do it, and that's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about the story. Okay, what is the Stingray universe all about?
So it's set in the future, and I like to a lot of it. As I read, I like to use my imagination. So I kind of try to push people, the readers, to use their imagination. So I don't give it a fixed date. Just make up where sometime in the future. Basically, it's a former Star Cruiser captain who's, in that first book, putting the band back together to rescue his protege's little sister from the evil conglomerate and keep the state-of-the-art...
That happens.
And keep the state-of-the-art
Not all conglomerates are evil. We live in Orlando. I live in the Orlando area, and we're here with Disney. Some conglomerates are nice and fuzzy and cuddly and send our kids to college.
Yes, they do.
But his is not. His is not that kind of conglomerate. His is evil.
Evil
conglomerate. Okay. Yes.
And and keep the starship out of their hands because it's the state-of-the-art.
Okay. Yeah. Fantastic. So. And then prophecy. Where did this come from? This was done, and you're like, hey, I did it. It's great. My story's out on the page, and then all of a sudden, this guy pops into your head.
Well, I kind of had 3 storylines in my mind, which way to go. This prophecy has actually a couple more arcs in it.
Okay.
So it's kind of a little underlying. It's more of a... See, I also love the Indiana Jones kind of movies. So I'm trying to weave a little bit of fantasy in this one, a little bit of Indiana Jones, maybe a little James Bond. Yeah. And so this one is... prophecy is more of... I guess there's a prophecy. There's 2 worlds that collide together. A primitive world and a high-tech world. They're born from, a world that died. And the crew of the I almost said the Enterprise. The crew of the Stingray has said they're
not going there.
Yeah, they're kind of entwined in this prophecy that the goddess Sophina handed down, and they appear, and the prophecy starts, and a whole bunch of stuff happens. There's some love in it, heartbreak.
Everything you need to satisfy. So why science fiction? What drew you towards science fiction, aside from your love of the old sci-fi stuff?
I've just always been a techie.
Yeah.
And that's
do
I'm
you
in
enjoy
IT.
writing the technical aspects of your worlds, or do you dive more into the story or the characters, or
I'm fickle with canon, so I really do try to make the tech believable. Mm-hmm. Now, if you look at it, you're off the wall, but it could be believable. It's based on current science, but with this is what I hope we can do at some time. With a what if.
That's the beautiful thing about being a writer is favorite question. What if?
What
if this worked a little better, or this worked a little bit,
For example, I don't want to spoil too much, but you're familiar with DNA, human DNA, the dinoribonucleic acid. That's the base of life. Well, what if, there's only a certain number of combinations of DNA that you can have for all living organisms. Mm-hmm. What if we meet, or not what if, when we meet alien life, are they going to share our DNA, or are they going to have their own DNA? Because now all of a sudden you've opened up a whole other universe of possible combinations of DNA that goes above and beyond what our DNA can handle. So what happens? So in here, I address that in prophecy.
Wow.
So, and yes, I was a fickler on the technical details, and I went and consulted with a genetics expert.
That's fantastic. That's what writers are readers. We have to, you have to research. You have to do your homework. You can build almost anything in a fictional world, but you have to build it with a building block, and those come from the world we live in. And if you don't do the research, you don't have the building block.
To me, so long as it's believable, then it's good. Then it's okay, even if it can't even be done. But if you can make it sound believable and base it on something that's real, then...
There's for years in science fiction, as a matter of fact, there's kind of 2 schools of thought. There's we have to show them how it works so that they buy into the technical believability aspect of it, or we can't discuss it at all. Because for years there's been gravity on starships since the 60s. Star Trek, tries to explain the notion of a graviton and how to manipulate them. Whereas you get something like Star Wars or something that's a little further afield of fantasy, where they say, okay, we have it, but we're not going to talk about it, because if we talk about it, then we're going to have to get into things that we could get wrong.
Correct. Yep.
And so they use character and story to just suck you into that world where you are forced to believe we have artificial gravity. And then, again, places like Star Trek or Babylon 5, where they say, okay, we're doing this manipulating gravitons, or we're doing this through creating rotational gravity. But you have to pick one. Are you going to talk about it or not talk about it? If you're a technical guy, you have to talk about it, because that's in your nature, right? So let's talk about your artwork here, man. So you've got the cover designs here. They're actually really compelling covers, really nice. Do you have one cover designer that does this? Do you do your design work? What do you?
Oh, no, I'm not that talented. I
brother.
outsource that stuff.
Amen. The beautiful thing about being an indie creator is that we get to work in collaboration with so many other independent creators, cover designers, editors. I mean, it's a fantastic way to network.
Yeah, it is. And it was really fun doing the audiobook, because I did an open casting call. Because, again, you don't want me droning on and on reading this book to you. So
They don't want me to do this at all, but I do it anyway.
So I did an open casting call, and I had a bunch of, I had a lot of, I don't know if you remember the commercial from the Visine commercial with the dry eyes guy. Yeah, I had a lot of those.
Okay.
And then I had this one guy, Tom Antonellis, who's amazing voiceover artist out in California, and he voiced over 60 different characters in my book.
That's awesome.
He said, you have 60 characters. I said, I do? Okay. I mean, I know my top 5, but everything else, like a red shirt from Star Trek, they just go away.
They're there.
They're there, then they go away.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this one has 62. So the next book, I'm going to try for 63 or 64 characters. Now I'm counting, because I have to challenge him.
Challenge the voice guy. How many more do you got, man? All right. So you also brought some great artwork here on the wall. Are these characters from your universe?
Yes.
Who are these? These
guys? I had an artist do a rendition for an upcoming project.
Yet not named.
Yes. And so this is Captain Epsilon, who's the lead character in the book. This is his rendition. And then that's Commander Smythe, who's the XO, or the executive officer of Stingray. And that's Bear. He's obviously the muscle. And he's kind of like the security guy on Stingray. The other two main characters haven't been drawn yet, so by the time I got here, so they're
awesome. Those are awesome. Yeah. Who's your artist here?
Manuel Silva from, I think, Silva Brothers. He did these. He's an amazing animator.
And this is these characters. These are obviously drawn from your character descriptions and things in here. And this is for another project coming up, something that's happening in the Stingray universe.
Yes.
I take it it's more artistically
inclined than
all this stuff here.
Yeah, and
this show, we travel to Comic-Cons and film festivals and music festivals. If you're a fan of the Hangin' with Web show and you see art like that and you see a story like this, if you can't do the math, I have no idea how you got here. Okay, it's not rocket. It is kind of rocket science.
It's
not really rocket science up here. Okay, so. When is this coming together here, this project? Are we looking at next year, or are we looking at...
End of the year, hopefully.
End of the year, hopefully, yeah. Awesome, very cool. We're going to drop some links for Gary Zeiger's website and all of those things down below, some links for the books on Amazon, so you can find them. And you can kind of go and stalk Gary on social media.
Please
so
do.
that you know when he's doing this stuff, okay? And you'll know where to find him up the road. We have to say thank you to our partners and friends. Apparently, we've been having way too much fun talking science fiction. I don't know why she thinks I want to stop. I don't. But before we do, we're going to say thank you to Krypton Radio. Gene Turnbow and his crew over at Krypton Radio are awesome. Hearts Helping Others of Central Florida. Bea and her team are helping families all over Central Florida. We thank them for that. Foxwood Wine Company, because these chairs are really comfortable.
They are.
And much better than the old clunky folding chairs that I had before. Our great friend Josh Bauer at J. Bauer Art, who does our normal art for our set here, including Joker Jr. over there, and of course the amazing Amelia Poole behind me here. We want to thank Indie Originals, Space Coast Comics, and our great friends Rick Shea and his team at Famous Faces and Funnies. These are the people who share our creative artists all over the World Wide Web. We're so grateful for them. We hope that you will become one of them. Share this video, share it on your social media profiles, hit subscribe so you can come back over and over and over again, because you never know who we're hanging with next.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
The Gift from best-selling author Ceci Giltenan.
An immortal spirit offers Cassie Calloway, a modern American heiress, the opportunity to spend 60 days in another time as another person, and the free-spirited college student jumps at the chance.
In 14th century Scotland, Tavish Ranald must marry. It is his duty. Can he marry Claire Morrison when another lass holds his heart?
When Cassie awakens as Claire, her new problem is Tavish. Join Cassie and Tavish as they embark on the adventure of a lifetime.
In The Gift, best-selling author Ceci Giltenan's
Pocketwatch Chronicles on Amazon.com. From author Sherry Rentschler comes the Evening Bower series, a prophecy from the lost city of Atlantis, a pairing whose union will change the future. Magical creatures, prophecy, destiny, and love collide in a new kind of romance. It's Sherry Rentschler's Evening Bower series, a haunting and compelling tale pulled from humanity's lost histories. Begin the adventure with time and blood on Amazon.com today. Forever is only the beginning. From author J.C. Layne comes Playing in Tune. As Mitch and Jess set about putting their lives back together, each of them is dealing with their own issues. Life marches on, and Peach Buzz Studios is abuzz with fans coming and going. Mitch continues to record his new album. Brett and Jess's new label, Crash and Burn Records, is about to debut. How will the aftermath of their ordeal impact their relationship? Can their love carry them through anything? Pre-order Playing in Tune by J.C. Layne, book 3 of the Back on Track series, on Amazon today.
Alien invaders enslave Earth.
Unleashing hunters into the ruin wastes.
One young survivor struggles to elude their monsters, clinging to hope.
When he's stolen off the planet by a sarcastic starship AI, they pit their uneasy alliance against a treacherous galaxy.
Explore a whole new verse of barbarism and betrayal.
Wonder and adventure.
In the Scion series.
By Michael J. Allen.
Beginning with Book 1, Scion Conquered Earth.
Available in print, ebook, and audio on Amazon.com.
Hello, World Wide Web. Welcome back to the Hangin' With Web Show. I'm GW Pomichter, and we are at Indie Book Fest 2019 in Orlando, Florida. Hit subscribe for us, because we have got authors from Indie Book Fest basically for the last 2 days, which is like 4 weeks for you on the internet, because we drop one interview a day. So you guys have plenty of content to choose from. We are here hanging with author Melissa Lummis.
You got it.
All right. The author of, most recently, Enlightened.
You got it.
All right. And I know that's probably spelled ish.
It's spelled right.
And yeah.
Enlightened.
It's like reading from we had Cosplay Michael make the cards today. As far as you guys know, I'm telling the truth. But so we're here at IBF. We're hanging out with Melissa Lummis. Melissa, thank you for coming and hanging out with us a little bit.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start there. She put that on the card, so it must be important.
Okay, with Enlightened?
With Enlightened. Let's start with Enlightened.
Okay.
Give us the book blurb.
Give us the book what?
The blurb. Kind of the elevator pitch. Give us kind of the...
I'm always so
let's
bad
tell
at
them
these.
What Enlightened is.
Enlightened is a new age suspense, kind of paranormal fantasy.
Wait, new age suspense, kind of paranormal fantasy.
Yes.
That's a lot of stuff going on. You got a lot of stuff going on
well,
in there.
Well, if I say paranormal romance, it's not really all about romance. It limits it. But it's new age suspense is something a friend of mine came up with, and she said, you basically write new age suspense. It's metaphysical, it's fantasy, but it's modern mystical.
Modern mystic. She's better at making up words than you are. Just saying.
I'm the writer.
Yeah. Modern mystic. I like that. Okay, so give us kind of some story points here. Where are people starting in Enlightened? What is the story? What are they watching? What are they following?
They're starting with the main character who's had the worst 2 years of her life. She's not sure she's really sane anymore after everything that's gone on. But that could describe all of us.
That's where she started.
That's where we're starting.
Wow.
That's her new normal, unfortunately.
Wow.
And it's about to get really shaken up with some...
That's going to get shaken up.
Yes, that's
going to get worse.
It's going to get worse before it gets better, but it does get better.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you the same thing your mom did when you started writing. Why? No. No. How long have you been writing professionally, and how long have you been publishing?
Since 2012. I've been writing my whole life. professionally, my previous life, I was a technical writer, so at least I was channeling my ability in some way.
Somehow.
But that left me wanting. I always had stories. I was working on them. I finally finished my first novel, and that one's buried in my backyard under, lead and...
Like, please don't read this
ever.
Yeah,
please don't read this ever. That was like the first thing I ever finished. But there's something that happens to you when you write that first book, and you go, oh, I can do this. I don't know how very well yet, but I can do it. So the next iteration was Enlightened, actually.
Okay.
But not the one that's being released on August 15th.
Not that one.
No.
Another one.
This one that's being released on August 15th is a probably 7th generation iteration of that one I wrote back in 2012.
Okay. All right.
Because I knew I had the story and I didn't want to lose it, so I wrote it down, but it wasn't quite right. So what's coming out is finally what I think is the story.
George Lucas had actually reminded us, art is never finished, it's abandoned.
Yes.
And
exactly.
So, that first time, it wasn't finished, it wasn't quite, you didn't have it, you weren't ready to let it go on its worldly journey.
Right.
Now this is it.
This is it.
Get out of the house, kid. You can't stay in the basement anymore.
Exactly. And there's also that saying that it, like sculpting, you can only do so many passes before you have nothing left to work with anymore, right? Yeah. So I had to put it aside, let it alone, let it simmer on the back burner, do some other writing, which I have another series called The Little Flame.
Okay.
And that's urban fantasy, just action, adventure, urban fantasy. If you're into electronic dance music and that whole scene, it's very much inspired by that DJ scene. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because you're just all over the place.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Modern, mystical to inspired by the kind of the dance.
Yes, but it's still urban fantasy. It's still magical.
Okay.
Like my tagline is "Get lost in the magic."
Very nice.
So
very nice. What draws you to that particular type of storytelling?
I love fantasy. I'm a big old J.R. Tolkien fan, and I always loved urban fantasy. I love anything magical. I love expanding out of our known universe and playing with ideas. I love quantum physics because that makes anything possible.
Yes. And I will go on the record here as saying that she's not wrong. Quantum physics to most of us is magic. Mm-hmm. Because we just can't comprehend. We can't wrap our brains around.
I cannot wrap my puny brain around what people are doing with that concept, but I'm fascinated with it.
It is because things that are so we have a love innate in our souls of the mystical, of the magical, of the things just. Whether they are, by definition, magical is maybe debatable, but it is to us. Because when it's mysterious and we don't quite comprehend it as a collective,
right,
it draws us in.
Right.
I mean, we've been fascinated with this as long as we could tell stories.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. For all I know, Merlin had a Star Trek communicator.
Exactly.
But he was magic to us because we didn't have that. We didn't know about that.
Who said that if technology can be so far advanced...
Arthur C. Clarke.
Thank you.
Arthur C. Clarke. Any technology advanced enough to be misunderstood can be construed as magic.
Magic, exactly.
And it is. And there's a magical element to the human being that just gravitates toward that.
Right.
And says, hey, I want to know more.
Yes.
Just don't take away the mystery. I like
we
that
love
part.
The mystery.
Yes, we do. And so, and you just like telling those kinds of stories.
I do. I enjoy it. I love delving into what people are capable on a personal level in their personality because we are so much more capable than what we think we are. And the only way you discover the depth of your well is to plummet. You have to go into that deep, dark hole that you don't want to go into and face it.
Which is why writers exist, because most people are terrified when you walk up and you ask them the question, well, what if? And most people go, oh, no, I don't want to know. But the writer doesn't. The writer's like, hey.
Yeah, for good or bad, our brains tend to... If I didn't write stories, my brain would be creating all kinds of scenarios that would have me, like, curled up in a ball under a couch somewhere.
Well, the great news about becoming a writer is that when the voices talk to you, no one will lock you up.
Exactly.
You just say, no, leave me alone, I'm writing.
Yep.
And you can do what the voices tell you to do. Within reason.
Within reason. In your written world.
Written world.
And I very much believe that we're all on an adventure. We're all on the hero's journey, whether we acknowledge it or not. And the fun begins, and the real adventure begins when we acknowledge it. And I really got inspired when I met my husband years ago. I'm not going to say how long ago. He had just finished hiking the Appalachian Trail. And I was just...
Wow.
I was just enthralled. I was like,
That's
wow,
amazing.
6 months... well, back in the day, people took about 6 months. Now I think there's a race, and everybody's trying to do it as fast as they can.
Which is crazy, by the way. Take your time.
Yeah.
You're walking the Appalachian Trail, which is awesome.
2,000 miles.
Yeah, and you should enjoy the hell out of that.
Yes. So we got to dating, and I said, I can't marry you until I've hiked the trail. And so I actually did marry him first.
That's where the race came from. He was like, all right, we're on it now.
I actually did marry him first, and then a few months later, we started the Appalachian Trail together. So I hiked it with him. So he's the crazy man who hiked it twice. I say for me, but, you know.
It'll work.
It'll work.
Yeah, you take the wins where you can get them. We're guys. We're simple creatures. Take the win.
I believe that.
So, all right. So we have Enlightened, the newest iteration of Enlightened, and you kind of like the magic stories. You like the stories about the magic all around us.
And always have. I fell in love with vampires back in the day, before they were popular.
There was a time, by the way, the vampire wasn't cool.
Yeah.
But he was always kind of cool. Society didn't see it that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Bram Stoker's Dracula has been a book I've loved for a long time, and I think that's the first time I really saw the symbology of them and what they represented on so many layers, and I could talk about that for days. But not just vampires. I love everything magical, exploring all the mythology across the world. I mean, Joseph Campbell is one of my heroes just for how he delved. He spent his life studying the magic and the stories and what they represent to us. And I really do believe
and
that...
And why they speak to us so much, yeah.
And if you go in, and I don't know what genres you read, or if you read...
A lot, but... And most. Honestly, the only thing that I don't read a lot of, or haven't read a lot, I don't read a lot anymore because I can't see very well, so, which is torment.
Yes.
It is when you look at a book and you're like, hey, I want to... Yeah. But... the only thing I never really got hooked was just pure romance adventure. I could never get, and it's not because it's not great, because it is. And I mean, so many of our contemporaries are writing so many amazing romance stories. It's just that it is the method for getting there is oversimplified for me.
Okay.
I'm always looking for. I'm always doing that Joseph Campbell thing. I'm always trying to dive in and find that hidden thing.
Right. Where's this adventure? Where's that twisting point?
Human romance, and it is a mystery to me.
I think it is to all of us.
But as mysterious as it is, there is a playbook for it for entertainment purposes, and I can't dive in as much and study. So
it just. That makes sense because most romance novels are geared towards a female, let me say that word, audience between the ages of, say, 20 and 65. It's like pretty broad, but it's female.
In fairness, I'm a guy. Y'all know that already. And I mean no offense to the rest of my gender, but we're just not that bright. And the mysteries of romance, they do elude us. If they didn't elude us, romance authors would have no audience. Because the reason that I think so many women gravitate toward that is because we're just not that good at it.
Well, it's fantasy in a lot of ways. Like, idyllically, this is how a romance...
Idyllically, he'd understand.
Yes.
He doesn't. We don't. I'm honest. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Because it is a kind of magic in and of itself. But everything else I love to read, and Joseph Campbell is an idol of mine as well.
Yeah.
I love the concept of a hero's journey. I love watching, because I always say that what makes literature important isn't that it tells life stories, because you could tell a real life story, you could tell a fictional tale, but in order to get to the truth of the human condition, you have to study the moments in transition when we are transforming. We are going from what we were to what we could be or would be. And the magic is in those moments because there's something mysterious about how we get from point A to point B. Something happens to our brains along the way. Joseph Campbell studied that a lot, what it takes, what the steps of that transformation are.
And transformation requires unraveling, disintegrating, and coming back together. And that's terrifying and fascinating to us.
Absolutely.
And which is where the supernatural creatures come in, because let's look at a vampire who disintegrates in the sun. What does that symbolize? What does that mean? What is life? What is death? What is, is there something in between?
The symbols are fascinating to follow because they can represent anything from cultural phenomenon to into deep personal dynamics. And Bram Stoker's Dracula is a really great example of that because he attacked British imperialism while telling the story of the quintessential outsider in society, all from a Catholic Irishman's background in the middle of London. Yeah. And it was so disguised that 100 years later, we're still talking about him.
Exactly.
And none of his contemporaries caught him.
Yeah, did you get caught doing it? And that's why I write fantasy, urban fantasy, in modern times, because it gives people permission to explore ideas that they wouldn't allow
They're
themselves.
uncomfortable exploring if you gave them a real-world scenario.
Exactly.
If you make that a cultural minority, or if you make that person or set of characters relevant to today's news, everybody goes, ooh, and they get scared and they close up and they clench up. But if it's a monster, if it's magic, if it's okay to hate them for a minute and then find out about them, all of a sudden you just enlightened someone.
And it's interesting because you just touched on a very key theme of enlightened is the monster. The monster outside of us, the monster inside of us. Who is the real monster? And that's part of what that story is all about, a major theme.
Enlightened, guys, check it out. I hate that card, but see, as soon as you get having a really good conversation, she's got to get all like, here you go. And so we've been hanging out with Melissa Lummis. We were talking a little bit about enlightened and writing, and there's a lot of stuff we packed into like 12 minutes.
Yes, we did.
So rewind it, watch it again, because there's a lot of stuff going on here. In the meantime, we're going to thank our friends and our partners at Famous Faces and Funny, Space Coast Comics, Indie Originals, Josh Bauer at J Bauer Art for all this fantastic artwork that's on our set. We love it. He does a great job.
The Joker.
That is
one of my favorite
That
characters.
is actually our own Cosplay Michael as the Joker, painted by Josh Bauer.
Nice.
It's like a whole meta thing on the set.
Can they see it past my head?
Yes, I think so. I'm not sure. We want to thank Hearts Helping Others of Central Florida. Thank you to Bea and her whole team for all they do to help families throughout Central Florida, and our great friends at the Foxwood Wine Company, Cliff and Rebecca, for these really comfy chairs.
Yeah, these are great.
Life really good. So, guys, stay tuned in and stay logged on. Hit subscribe. Come back. We've been hanging out with Melissa Lummis, the author of Enlightened. Links are down below so you can check out her books and all the stuff that she's doing. There was so much we didn't get to talk about because Sage is mean. That's our reasoning here. And so remember, guys, come back over and over again to see who we're hanging with next.
The Right of Wands. One boy, one right. And a world of deadly secrets that could change the course of history forever. It's time for The Right of Wands by Mackenzie Floor. When a horrible fate reveals itself during the Right of Wands ceremony, Mirda must find a way to change his destiny. Forbidden from revealing the future, he is granted a wand and magical powers in order to save himself and those he loves. But Mirda is not the only one with secrets. The Right of Wands by Mackenzie Floor, available on Amazon.com now.
At Xavier Dominic's ManifestThyWill.com, do you crave solutions to your everyday problems? Get rich, find love, and become happy. Xavier Dominic, master of the dark arts, may have the powers you need to prevail. Don't give up because other spellcasters have failed you. At Xavier Dominic's ManifestThyWill.com, life does not have to be as hard as you see it. Xavier, an astrologist and psychic, carries out rituals and casts spells conscientiously, and he has the power to prevail in situations deemed impossible by other spellcasters. At ManifestThyWill.com, see for yourself the difference real magic can make. Go to ManifestThyWill.com today.
Now on Amazon.com. War Calls, Love Cries, a Civil War novel by Mark Berry. Isaac Wells is an innocent farm boy living in upstate New York. His dreams are shattered by a treacherous brother and the onset of a devastating civil war. War Calls and Love Cries is a fast-moving historical narrative. It is an emotional roller coaster ride and a riveting must-read book that you will think about and talk about for a long time to come. War Calls, Love Cries is the kind of book you will cherish for a lifetime. On Amazon.com today.
Eye of the Eagle by Sharon Bookbinder.
Shapeshifter Burt Blackfeather never plans to get seriously involved with another woman in this lifetime. So what if she's beautiful? So what if she gives him a jolt when she shakes his hand?
Phoebe Wagner, an empath with psychometric abilities, gets more than she bargained for with Burt. So what if he's hot? She doesn't need to add his secrets to her own.
When Burt's niece goes missing from a Hotel Lavelle, he and Phoebe decide to go to Montana to find her.
Can two hard-headed people share their darkest secrets in order to work together? It may be the only way to save a child and their own hearts.
Eye of the Eagle on Amazon.com today.
Hello, World Wide Web. Welcome back to the Hangin' with Web show. I'm GW Pomichter, your host, and Journey Master, because we are taking magical journeys with creative writers all weekend long from Space Coast Book Lovers. Thank you for being here. Now hit subscribe, because we want you to come back over and over again. We got a lot of writers to talk to this weekend.
Yeah, you do.
This is amazing. So we're hanging out right now with Savannah Verte, from the author of Portals.
Mm-hmm. Among others, yeah.
Yes, so Portals.
Mm-hmm.
She wrote the portal that you're going to... Never mind. It's YouTube, guys, figure it out. Okay, so let's talk about Portals. Let's start there.
Okay.
That is the most recent book, is that right?
Yes. So we released the paperback version here last night.
Wow. So by the time these guys see this, that they can get one. Because this
no.
No? Oh,
no,
when?
It was only here.
Only here?
So it was Space Coast Book Lover Special.
Ooh.
Yeah, just for the event.
Wow, you guys missed out.
Yeah, July
See?
19th, everybody else can get it.
July 19th, okay.
Yeah.
So July 19th, you can get Portals.
Yep, and I don't even have a copy left because we sold out.
See now that's how you know what you're missing.
Yeah.
And that, by the way, is every author's favorite sentence. Sold out. That's right.
That's it.
Because it means that readers are liking what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It means they're going to read it.
I hope so.
Yes.
It's a big book, though, so...
That's okay. That's okay. Look, if you have a copy of Portals, leave stars. Because that's what we eat. Stars and ratings.
That's how we eat,
That's how we eat, yes. So please leave stars. We like that. Okay, so tell us about Portals.
So Portals is actually, it's an epic fantasy, big book, large cast of characters, sets up on another world is where it starts. The world is at war. There's a group of warriors that fights for the throne and fights for the people.
Okay.
And one of them decides to smart off to the god, and they get banished here.
I haven't read Portals yet, but I'm just familiar enough with every myth, legend ever that I know that when you smart off to a god, bad stuff's gonna happen.
Yeah, so the banishment portal opens in the floor to send them through to elsewhere.
Instant judgment.
Instant judgment.
That's the proverbial boop.
Yeah.
You're gone.
And so it's supposed to be just for one of them, but he has 6 brothers that are standing behind him, and they went, it's all for one or nobody goes. So they all jumped forward to grab him as he fell, and they went together.
Okay, where do they end up now?
They end up here for 1,000 years.
Here?
Here, as in
like
Earth.
our world.
Our world, yeah. So we start
and they're
out...
they're like a knight's fantasy fighting world.
They are actually Nidhogger dragon shifters that come here.
Whoa. Gotta back...
Nidhogger is...
What is this?
It's a dragon from Japanese lore. So there's all different creatures from all different pantheons. So we've got Nidhoggers and Soul Reapers and the Welsh pixies, and it's a microcosm, all these different mythical creatures that some you've heard of and some you haven't.
What does your Google search history look like?
Oh, we don't talk about that.
No. Wow.
No.
First of all, every country, she's on a watch list because she's doing the research into all of their monsters.
Yeah. The Layne of myth and legend.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. So the Chrysosphinx from Egypt. So they're all in there. And this is part 1. So part 2 isn't even done yet.
Where does this weigh in? Wait, what about 700 pages?
The book 1, I got it to 740. That was as small as I could go.
She trimmed and she's like, there are entire sections that she's like, okay, I guess I can do without that. Yeah.
Well,
it's
I
hard.
kind of leave a little to your imagination to fill in the blanks.
Wait. Very 740 pages.
Big book.
Yeah. And this is book number?
1.
1 of the series.
1 of...
Are there going to be other
2?
Uh-huh.
I know that there's a second book because while this book does come to a conclusion and you do get to the end of the story, so they're here for 1,000 years. We go through the Silk Road. We go through the Shogunate era. We go through Cromwell's war in Europe and the founding of Venice with the Rivoalto. So we do a little history tour while we're there, have some fun.
That's cool. Yeah. Take
accurate history.
Nice.
Yes.
So when you're not figuring out what people's monsters are, you're actually learning about what people's lives were like.
Absolutely. So
this is the consummate student.
If we're not green and growing, we're dead. So you got to keep going.
Love it. I'm like memorizing that sentence. That was awesome, by the way. That was amazing. Favorite moment or scene while writing Portals? That's what the internet wants to know.
So here's the twist to the tale, because as they all jump through the portal together, one of their destined mates figures out that her guy just went through the floor, and so she makes a deal with the Oracle at Delphi to follow, but she doesn't get to retain her form. She doesn't get to retain her immortality. Yeah, so she dies over and over again, trying to wait for the moment that he figures out that he wants to go home. So it's a torn apart story. Yeah, and so favorite moment is probably bawling my eyes out when he finally figured it out and that he needed to go home.
Okay, I want to do that sentence really quick, okay? Because it's an important moment, especially for a writer. Mm-hmm. You're controlling a world. You're controlling a story. You're controlling.
I am God.
That's right. All of these characters are set in motion by your imagination. Mm-hmm. So it's an amazing moment when they take on a life of their own, and that life has an impact on you as a writer. Mm-hmm. So sitting there, seeing that scene unfold in your mind, even before you put it on the page, that's an amazing moment.
It is.
Where you're almost physically weeping from.
I was physically weeping.
Actions.
I've thrown it at the wall a couple times, but yeah, when it makes me cry, that doesn't get cut.
No.
Save that.
The editor calls and they're like, well, I'm not really sure. No. You're like, no. Shut up now.
That's right.
That's right. Fix my commas and move away.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly what the conversation is, too. No.
That's exactly right.
You can't have that one.
No, that's right. Capitalize the ones I forgot, and then you just move on
that's
past
right.
that. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Wow, that's amazing. How long have you been a professional writer now?
Oh, gosh. I've been writing, let's see, since the 80s.
The 1980s.
Yeah, 1980s.
Yeah, 1980s. There was time before
the thousands. Yeah.
Well, the 2000s. We don't go back to the thousands. That guy's really rude. He was thinking all kinds of... no, we don't go back. 1980s, that's right.
80s, yeah.
Best music, worst clothing options.
I don't know. I like the music from the 70s a little better myself, but...
It's got a little groove to it.
Yeah.
It's got a little groove to it. We have the earworms in the 80s.
Yeah.
They got stuck in everybody's head. So much so that today you see the kids going around and they've got little...
Well, and actually, if you go to a lot of the book signing conventions, they're all themed the 80s, but none of them know how to dress. It's all this, neons and tutus, and it's like, were you there? Because I'm thinking you missed it.
Yeah. The only thing the hair.
Yep.
We if there's a hole in the ozone layer right now,
it's us.
We did that because Aquanet, we made you.
Yeah. Yeah, 10 inches off the top and
right.
digging around.
And it never fell.
Nope.
That's right. The hairspray from the 80s is made out of like solid lead or something. It just stays up forever.
Yeah, glue in a bottle.
So writing since the 80s. What was your first published work?
Oh gosh. Actually, I was doing newspaper work back then. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, because newspaper writers rock.
So that's where all of the research heavy stuff comes from, because there's an ingrained thing about you either do or don't, but accuracy and having your facts straight.
Be right.
And that's where I've always been.
Be right instead of sorry. It will save you time.
Yes.
That's...
Yeah, there's the other school of thought, which is you can write an apology or retract anything, and I'm like, no, I want to be right from the beginning.
Yeah, because you can't. The retraction is the one place on the newspaper that nobody reads.
Exactly.
It literally is.
Exactly.
So if you screw it up, and then you go back later and say, hey, I screwed it up, nobody heard that part.
Right.
But they have no problem writing your email and saying you screwed that up.
Right. So that's where all of the history pieces of Portals really comes.
That's awesome,
that's where it comes from. Is I wanted it to be right. So as we're looking at the timeline when they're here before they go back and figure out that was the first hurdle, because the second hurdle is they have to figure out that they're fighting themselves. Their world was divided, and the god has pitted them against themselves, literally.
Wow.
So I wanted to know that the timeline followed and it tracked. So as you read through Portals, you're literally going to follow the timeline of history as it happened.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Guys, if you're looking forward to reading Portals, please check out the link down below. July 19th. July 19th. If it's coming up, mark your calendar.
The pre-order's on Amazon.
Pre-order. Grab your copy now. it's going to be an epic adventure.
It is.
So take it with all of us, as we all do. So, guys, we've been hanging out with Savannah Verte, talking about portals and writing and so much more. We have to say thank you to our partners and friends at Hearts Helping Others of Central Florida, Foxwood Wine Company, Embellish Effects, Cogler Emporium, our great friend Josh Bauer at J. Bauer Art, Indie Original, Space Coast Comics, Famous Faces, Funnies, and Krypton Radio.
Whoosh!
Woo! I love the fact that list is breathtaking now, because it means that those are the people who are sharing our creative artists with the web.
And eventually you won't be able to do it in one breath.
I hope so. And
awesome
I hope,
goals.
Because that guy right there is going to subscribe, and he's going to support all of our independent creators.
Sounds good.
I love it. So we've been hanging out with Savannah Verte, guys. Remember, log on, tune in, and see who we're hanging with next. Awesome.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you so much, Savannah. That was awesome.
Woo-woo.
Fun.